The voice was clear, firm, like a bell cracking through Lego's heat. Jerry Anderson froze, mid-swing. His hand, raised in anger, trembled above the woman he had nearly struck. Around him, the supermarket stairs fell silent. Even the traffic seemed to pause. He looked down at her, frail, dusty, dressed in a torn blue wrapper, her fingers outstretched in trembling desperation. "Sir, please," she had whispered. "Just bread. I haven't eaten." 10 minutes ago, she was just another face in the crowd. Another beggar he'd ignored in the parking lot. Another shadow trying to touch a man too powerful to notice. But now the air had cracked open, and a stranger was telling him this starving old woman. This stranger was his mother. Jerry turned, slowly. At the bottom of the steps stood a young woman in a mud-streaked ash gown, her hair wild, eyes unblinking. She had one hand raised toward him, the other pressed against her chest like she was holding a secret too fragile to name. "My what?" Jerry said, voice low. "Your mother," the girl repeated. "Don't touch her." The world spun slightly. For a moment, everything was quiet. The shouting guards, the traffic, the whispers behind camera phones, all drowned out by the echo of those two words. "Your mother." Jerry took a step back, chest tightening. "Who are you?" "My name is Amara," the girl said, voice calm. "I don't have much, but I have one gift. I read faces. I see the small things other people miss." She walked up the steps slowly, deliberately. "I saw her waiting here. I saw you arrive. And I saw it, the same pain. Around the eyes. The same tension in your mouth when you're angry." Jerry didn't move. He wanted to dismiss her, to laugh, to shake this off like a bad rumor. But he couldn't. Amara turned to the old woman. "Mama, may I see your right wrist?" The woman, still unnamed, nodded. Slowly, she lifted her arm. Her sleeve, frayed and sun-faded, fell back. There, near her veins, was a dark birthmark. A comma. Amara turned to Jerry. "Show yours." He hesitated. The crowd held its breath. Then, slowly, he pulled up his sleeve. Same mark. Same place. A dark comma near the vein. A gasp rippled through the crowd. "I've had this since I was born," Jerry murmured. "My mother, she had one too." His voice cracked. "She disappeared 15 years ago. We searched everywhere." The old woman began to cry, quietly, her face folded like paper, tears slipping into long faded lines. Jerry dropped to his knees. "Mama," he said. "Not a question. A prayer." She touched his face with both hands, trembling, as if she didn't trust her own senses. "My Jerry," she breathed. "I looked for you in every face I saw." Jerry shook his head. "Forgive me. I didn't know. I didn't know. I was about to." He couldn't finish the sentence. "It's over," she said softly. "Today it's over." People on the steps held their breath. Security looked away to hide wet eyes. Even the supermarket staff had gone quiet. Amara stood back, silent, as if she had opened a door no one else had dared touch. Jerry looked at her. Really looked. The mud on her dress. The hollowness in her cheeks. But her eyes, steady, certain. "Amara," he whispered. "How did you know?" "I told you," she said. "I read faces." A pause. Then the old woman swayed. Her knees buckled. Jerry caught her. "Driver," he shouted. "We're going to the hospital now?" The SUV door slammed open. Amara slipped inside with them. She cradled the old woman's head in her lap. "Mama," she whispered. "Stay with us. Please." Jerry dialed his hospital contact, voice shaking. "Prepare a bed. It's my mother." Her chest rose and fell in short gasps. Her fingers found his. Held tight. "I took so long," Jerry whispered. "But I found you." The city sped past. Traffic parted. The hospital gates appeared like salvation. But just as they arrived, her body went still. Her hand slipped from his. "Mama," he whispered, voice thin. Nurses rushed out with a stretcher. A cry broke through the crowd. And as Jerry handed over the only woman who had ever truly known him, he realized something terrifying. This wasn't the end. The fluorescent lights in the hospital flickered, humming their cold mechanical song. Jerry stood in the hallway outside the emergency ward, his body stiff, his mind flooded with the impossible. His mother, found, alive, starving, wounded. And in her last whisper before collapsing, she had said one word that haunted him now: beware. He had tried to stay composed, but that word had cracked something inside him. Not fear. No, Jerry Anderson feared nothing, but something older, something like guilt. or shame, or rage. Inside, doctors moved quickly. For lines, blood pressure monitors, whispered codes Jerry couldn't understand. All he could do was watch. And wait. Amara sat quietly on a bench nearby. Her dress was still dirty, stained at the hem, but she sat like she belonged here, as if she was part of something holy. Jerry glanced at her, then away. He didn't know what to do with her presence, only that it mattered. The door to the ward opened, and a doctor stepped out. Tall, professional, but his eyes were tired. "She's stable," he said. Jerry exhaled, the air sharp in his lungs. "But," the doctor continued, "her body has suffered. Malnutrition, dehydration, and there are signs of trauma." Trauma. Jerry's voice rose. Old bruises. Wrist scars consistent with restraint. Possibly chains. Whatever happened to her, it wasn't just living on the streets. Chains. The word echoed, heavy and sharp. Jerry swallowed. "Can I see her?" The doctor hesitated. "She needs rest." "I need truth." The doctor finally nodded. Quietly, Jerry pushed open the door. The room was white and sterile, and his mother, Madame Mamaka, lay pale against the sheets. Her face looked softer in sleep, but the lines carved by suffering were still there. And something else too, a kind of peace, like she had finally made it to shore after drowning. Jerry sat beside her, holding her hand. It was warm now. "I thought you were dead," he whispered. "I grieved. I built everything trying not to feel the hole you left." Her eyelids fluttered. Her voice came as a breath. Jerry, his name, spoken like it had been locked away for years. "I'm here, Mama." She opened her eyes. "You grew into a man, and I wasn't there to see it." Tears fell from his eyes freely now. "I would trade everything I have, every dollar, every deal, just to have you back sooner." She stroked his cheek. "Don't cry. I am here now." Amara stood quietly at the door. She said nothing, but her eyes were full. Then a nurse rushed in. "Mr. Anderson, there's something you need to see." Jerry stepped out. The nurse held up a bundle of cloth. Inside it, a single rusted chain link. "She had this hidden in her dress," the nurse explained. "Wrapped tight, like she wanted someone to find it." Jerry stared at it. The metal was old, worn, but unmistakable. "She kept a piece of it," he said, his voice hollow. "Why would she do that?" "To remember," Amara said. "To prove it happened. That she wasn't just lost. She was taken." Jerry clenched his jaw. Who would do this to her? Who hated her enough to chain her and erase her? A voice answered from the shadows near the door. "I know." Jerry turned. A tall man stepped forward, face weathered, eyes heavy. He looked like someone who hadn't slept in years. "I used to work for your uncle," he said quietly. "Chike Anderson." Jerry froze. "Get out," he growled. "No," the man replied. "Because I know what happened to your mother." Jerry's hands curled into fists. "You'd better talk." The man nodded. "My name is Samuel. 15 years ago, your uncle feared what your mother knew. She had documents. Proof about your father's will. About what Chike was hiding. So he had her taken. Not killed, just removed." "Removed?" Jerry spat. "Like garbage." She was moved from place to place. Tied. Watched. Fed enough to survive. But never free. Jerry's face twisted in disbelief and fury. "You're lying. My uncle helped me take over the company." "He helped himself," Samuel said, "to what was never his." Suddenly, from behind them, a voice spoke, tired but strong. "He's telling the truth." They turned. Madame Mamaka stood in the doorway, leaning on a nurse, her voice shaking but steady. "It was Chike," she said. "He feared I would expose him. I tried to warn you, but they came before I could." Jerry rushed to her side. "I'll make him pay," he whispered. "I'll burn his empire to the ground." Her hand tightened on his arm. "No, son. Revenge is fire. It burns everything, even the one who lights it." But Jerry was already burning. Later that night, he stood alone in the hospital corridor, phone pressed to his ear. "Detective Solar? It's me. I want you in Lagos by morning. My mother's alive, and someone kept her that way for all the wrong reasons." He hung up. Behind him, Amara spoke gently. "You're going after him." Jerry turned. His eyes were cold now. "He stole 15 years of her life. Of mine. This is war." She hesitated. "Then let me come with you." His brows rose. "I told you," she said. "I read faces. And I've read yours since the moment you raised your hand. You don't need to do this alone." He looked at her. Really looked. Maybe for the first time. And then, slowly, he nodded. "Then we go together." The air in the hospital corridor was thick with quiet. The kind of quiet that follows a storm but hides another one just behind it. Detective Solar arrived just before dawn. A big man with sharp eyes and a colder voice, he didn't waste time on handshakes. Jerry told him everything. About the birthmark, the chain, the bruises, the confession from Samuel, and his mother's frail confirmation. Solar listened with his arms crossed, jaw tight. When Jerry finished, Solar didn't blink. If this is true, your uncle is more than a thief. He's a conspirator, possibly attempted murder. Jerry nodded once. Then I want him arrested. Solar looked him in the eye. Justice, Mr. Anderson, not vengeance. But Jerry's silence spoke volumes. By evening, Jerry had made up his mind. He stood in the hospital room, watching his mother sleep, her breathing soft and shallow, and he knew he couldn't stay. If his uncle learned she was alive, he might come to finish what he started. Amara stood in his way at the door. You're going to Abuja, aren't you? He didn't deny it. You can't leave her like this, she pleaded. She needs you. I'm not leaving her, he said. I'm protecting her. The only way to keep her safe is to confront him. Amara's eyes filled with something between admiration and sorrow. Then I'm going with you. Jerry's eyes widened. You? Amara, it's dangerous. You asked me to fight beside you. I'm not backing out now. He stared at her for a long moment. Then, with a breath, nodded. We go together. The jet landed under nightfall. Abuja gleamed ahead like a city made of promises and lies. Detective Solar had arranged everything: transport, safe houses, and information. Chike Anderson was hosting a lavish gathering that very night in his mansion in Maitama Hills. Politicians, business tycoons, foreign investors. The perfect cover for a man who didn't expect war. The mansion was a monument to arrogance. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, servants in designer uniforms, guards at every entrance. But Solar had a plan. He'll be distracted, he said. You confront him publicly, with the chain as evidence. With your mother's statement. He won't be able to lie. Amara wore a simple gown, borrowed, but graceful. Jerry was back in his element. Crisp black suit, cold eyes, steps like thunder. Inside, Chike stood near a grand piano, laughing with a senator. His voice was too loud, too proud. Then he saw Jerry. The smile on his face froze. Jerry, my boy, what a surprise. Jerry stepped forward. The room hushed. Everyone turned. No more games, uncle. Where's my mother? A gasp rippled through the crowd. Chike's smile barely twitched. Your mother? She died, Jerry. You buried her. Don't tell me grief has. Jerry pulled the rusted chain from his pocket and held it up. The lights caught it. The crowd murmured. She's alive, Jerry said. And this was around her wrist. You remember it, don't you? Chike's face darkened. Just for a second. Then he recovered. You're confused. No, Jerry snapped. I'm awake. Solar stepped beside him, flashing his badge. Mr. Chike Anderson, you're under investigation for fraud, unlawful imprisonment, and conspiracy. Chaos erupted. Then the lights went out. Screams. Shouts. A crash. Somewhere, a gunshot cracked. Glass shattered. Someone fell. Jerry reached for Amara's hand in the dark. Stay with me. She clutched his tightly. Then, the lights snapped back on. Chike was gone. So were his two personal guards. Solar cursed. He planned this. Jerry's blood ran cold. He knew we were coming. Amara turned to him, voice shaky. How? He didn't answer. But in his chest, something shifted. Someone had betrayed them. Then Jerry's phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. A voice, deep, mocking. Jerry, my dear nephew. You want the truth? Come find me. But beware, the truth costs more than you think. And your mother may not survive to hear it. The line went dead. Jerry stood frozen. He has her. Amara's breath caught. No, she whispered. How did he? I don't know, Jerry said. But this ends now. Back in Lagos, the hospital room was empty. The nurses were frantic. The cameras disabled. No one had seen who took her. No one knew where she went. Only one message was left behind, scratched into the frame of the window in something dark. Family eats family. Jerry punched the wall so hard he split his knuckles. Amara held his arm. We'll find her. He shook his head. We don't have time. Solar was already on the phone, calling in favors, threatening officials, mobilizing private forces. Jerry stared out the window, his chest hollow. All his life, he had believed wealth meant control. But here he was, powerless. Where would he take her? Amara asked. Jerry's eyes narrowed. Someplace hidden. Somewhere no one questions screams. Then he turned to her, voice like ice. He said I buried her once. Maybe he wants me to do it again. Amara swallowed. Then we have to get to him first. They didn't sleep that night. The storm was coming. And Jerry Anderson wasn't running anymore. The mansion in Lagos was colder now. Not by temperature, but by weight. Silence had fallen over its grand halls. But it wasn't peace. It was the silence of something missing. Something stolen. Jerry stood at the entrance of his own house and didn't recognize it. The nurses had failed. The cameras had been disabled. His mother was gone again, taken in the middle of the night like a ghost. And this time, the only evidence she had been there at all was the chain link still sitting on his nightstand and a blood-stained warning carved into the windowsill. Family eats family. He hadn't cried. Not yet. Instead, he sat on the edge of his bed, staring at his bloodied knuckles, feeling like a boy again. Lost. Small. Angry. Amara was in the kitchen, pacing. She hadn't eaten since the abduction. She hadn't stopped whispering prayers under her breath. She hadn't left his side. Detective Solar returned at dawn, eyes red, jaw set. No movement yet, he said. Chike has gone underground. Our contacts are hitting walls. Someone powerful is protecting him. Jerry stood slowly. Then I'll dig through concrete if I have to. Solar looked at him long and hard. You're not thinking straight. Jerry turned, fury rising. My mother was kidnapped. Again. On my watch. In my home. You want me to think? I want you to survive, Solar snapped. He doesn't play fair. And now he's desperate. Jerry's fists clenched. Let him be. By midday, Solar had tracked a lead. An abandoned estate Chike owned under a false name, just outside Lagos. It had been used in the past for quiet guests, according to someone who used to handle logistics for Chike's companies. We go tonight, Solar said. Jerry nodded. Amara didn't speak. They drove in silence as the city gave way to forest. The sky turned orange. The roads narrowed. Then finally, in the shadow of tall trees, it appeared, a crumbling two-story estate. Windows broken, the gate overrun by vines. We go in quiet, Solar instructed. But Jerry had no patience for quiet. He kicked the gate open. Inside, the house smelled of rot and forgotten secrets. Muffled groans echoed from deep within. Footsteps on tile. Then the unmistakable sound of a chain dragging across concrete. Jerry stopped breathing. He ran toward the sound. Room after room passed in a blur until he reached it. A basement door, locked. From behind it, a voice whispered, faint but real. Jerry. He ripped the door open with his shoulder. It gave way with a crash. Inside, in the dim light, Madame Mamaka sat on the floor, chained at the ankle, her face bruised but alive. Mama. He ran to her, falling to his knees. She smiled faintly. You came back. He sobbed, holding her tightly. I'll never leave you again. Solar entered behind him, gun drawn. We're not alone. Suddenly, footsteps. Loud. Fast. Amara screamed, behind you. Jerry turned just as a guard lunged at him from the shadows. Solar fired. The man dropped. More footsteps now. Yells. Movement upstairs. It's a trap, Solar shouted. Jerry lifted his mother into his arms. We have to move. They ran through the estate as gunfire broke behind them. Amara was pulled behind a column, another guard. She kicked wildly. Solar turned, fired again. Outside, the SUV was already reversing through the gate, tires spinning. They jumped in. Jerry cradled his mother in the back seat, Amara beside them, her breath ragged, eyes wide. You're safe, he whispered. You're safe now. But Madame Mamaka looked at him, tears in her eyes. You shouldn't have come. What? I heard them talking. Chike's not done. He has people inside your company. He has eyes everywhere. Jerry went still. Then his phone buzzed. Unknown number again. He answered. You think it's over? Chike's voice said. That was just a taste. You stole what I built. You embarrassed me. Now I'll take everything from you. Gentek. Your name. Your future. Then he laughed. And next time, I won't miss. The line went dead. Jerry's hands shook. Amara gripped his arm. We can't wait for him to strike again. Jerry turned to her. Then we strike first. Back in Lagos, Jerry didn't sleep. He called every board member of Gentek, held an emergency meeting, laid it all out. Proof of forged documents, the hidden properties, the theft, the lies. Samuel testified. So did Solar. Amara presented her findings, emails, financials, backdoors, and the company code. By morning, Chike Anderson was removed from every board, every seat, every power he held. Gentek froze his accounts. The press exploded. But Chike had already vanished. A week passed. Jerry's mother slowly recovered, her bruises fading, her eyes sharpening. The house was filled with staff, security, nurses. She no longer flinched at every noise. But Jerry did. He barely ate, barely smiled. Amara watched him, and she knew his body had survived, but his heart was still bleeding. One evening, she found him in the garden, staring at nothing. "You don't sleep," she said. He shook his head. She sat beside him. "You saved her," she said. "You exposed him. You did everything." "And it's still not enough," he whispered. She touched his hand. "You think revenge will fix you, but it won't." He looked at her, tears brimming. "Then what will?" She didn't answer. She only pulled him close. And for once, he let himself be held. That night, a package arrived. No return address. Inside, a video. Jerry played it in his study. It showed a warehouse. A chained man, shirt torn, bleeding. Chike, bound to a chair. A voice off camera. "This is what happens to traitors." Then silence. Jerry stared at the screen. What the hell? Solar stepped beside him. Looks like one of his own turned on him. Or someone bigger. Amara entered. "What now?" Jerry stood slowly. "I don't know. But maybe this is what Mama meant." "Beware," Amara whispered. "Yes," Jerry said. "Beware the blood. Not just enemies, but family." The video haunted Jerry for days. Chike, chained, bloodied, betrayed by his own people. The man who had stolen 15 years from a mother and a son, now reduced to a ghost of himself. And yet, Jerry felt no triumph, no satisfaction, just silence, and the unbearable weight of everything left unsaid. It rained the next morning. Lagos wore gray like a funeral cloth. Jerry stood on the balcony of his mansion, watching water slide down the marble pillars. His mother sat inside, wrapped in a shawl, sipping tea slowly. Her hands still shook sometimes, but her eyes were clearer now, focused, grounded. Amara joined him on the balcony. She didn't speak. She just stood beside him, shoulder to shoulder, the silence between them deep but not empty. "I thought revenge would fix me," Jerry said finally. "But it didn't." "I know," Amara replied. "It never does." He turned to her. "What do I do with the rest of this life?" She looked at him for a long time before answering. "Start living it." 3 days later, Jerry made a decision that stunned everyone. He stepped down from Gentek. The board tried to stop him. Investors panicked. The media erupted. But Jerry was calm. "I built a company searching for control," he told the press. "But I've learned that power without peace is a prison. It's time for something else." He named a new CEO, a quiet, brilliant woman from within the company, and handed her the keys without fanfare. Then he vanished from the front page. With Gentek behind him, Jerry focused on rebuilding what truly mattered. He spent mornings walking in the garden with his mother. They spoke slowly, like two people learning a language they once knew but had forgotten. She told him stories of his childhood, of his father's laughter, of simpler times. He listened, and slowly, the boy inside him began to breathe again. In the afternoons, he worked with Amara. They launched a foundation, The Face Behind the Face, a nonprofit for women who had gone missing, been trafficked, or forgotten. The mission: to find them, name them, restore them. Amara became its director. She wore proper suits now, simple, elegant, but the same fire burned in her eyes. She was no longer the girl from the bridge. She was a force. Their love didn't come with fireworks. It came like sunlight through thick clouds, slow, persistent, real. One night, under the stars in the garden, Jerry turned to her. "I've lost everything that didn't matter, and found the one thing that does." Amara smiled softly. "What's that?" "You." And just like that, it became clear. They married in a quiet ceremony. No press, no spectacle, just close friends, a few trusted staff, and Madame Mamaka walking her son down the aisle, tears streaming down her face. "I never thought I would see this day," she whispered. "My son a husband, my daughter a bride." Amara kissed her hand. "You brought us here." And Madame Mamaka smiled, the way only a mother can when her heart is full. A year later, the mansion echoed with new laughter. Jerry and Amara had a son. They named him Sam, after her father. Madame Mamaka held the baby in her arms, rocking him gently on the same porch where she had once sat, silent and bruised. Now she sang, softly, a lullaby from her village, a song Jerry hadn't heard since he was 5. He stood at the door, watching them, his mother, his wife, his son, his past, his present, his future. For the first time in years, there was no storm on the horizon, just the hum of life. But peace, Jerry had learned, wasn't the absence of conflict. It was the presence of truth. And in the months that followed, he did not shy away from it. He testified against Chike. Though the man had disappeared from public view, the evidence Jerry provided ensured that every stolen naira, every hidden deal, and every bruised body tied to Chike's legacy would see daylight. Some said he went too far. Others said he didn't go far enough. But Jerry didn't care. He wasn't trying to win anymore. He was trying to heal. On the anniversary of his mother's rescue, Jerry stood before a new building. It was not a tower or a lab or an office. It was a home. The Mamaka House for Women Reborn. He cut the ribbon with Amara at his side, their baby in her arms, and his mother watching from the crowd. Inside were 20 rooms, each one painted with warm colors, each one named after a woman they had found, each one a sanctuary. As the applause settled, Jerry stepped to the microphone. I spent 15 years building walls, he said. But this is the first thing I've built that feels like home. His voice cracked. And it started the moment I almost raised my hand, and someone stopped me. Someone brave enough to speak. Someone wise enough to see. He looked at Amara. She smiled through tears. Then, as if on cue, the sky opened up. Not with rain, with sunlight, golden and full. And for Jerry Anderson, it was no longer a second chance. It was simply life. It was just the beginning.